You got to set the table for the talent.
Yep, absolutely.
They have not set the table properly.
Yeah.
So a win over Goldberg would really, honestly, in my opinion, bro, it really wouldn't mean anything.
You got to think about it this way, and I'm sure you do, Vince. But from a fan's perspective, think of it this way. If Goldberg, say for instance, if Goldberg were to go against someone like a Seth Rollins, for instance, okay? If Goldberg beats Seth Rollins, it's a feel-good day. Not much harm or foul with Seth Rollins. I'd prefer that if they did it, because Seth Rollins, like we've actually talked about this before, Seth Rollins would be a perfect person for a Goldberg just to really complement his weaknesses. But at the same time, Goldberg beats Seth Rollins. We get our feel-good WrestleMania moment. I'm all about feel-good WrestleMania moments. But how many feel-good WrestleMania moments do we get left in Goldberg? Like I think the turnip is squeezed all the way. And then if you beat Goldberg, if Seth Rollins beats Goldberg, is he really getting over? Now, here's my question to you, Vince. Let's throw out Austin Theory out there, okay? Now, there were some talks, and we'll talk about this in other shows. There were some talks that Shane McMahon, was trying to get his way to do certain things, and we've even talked about Shane versus Theory potentially. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. So say if you do a Goldberg versus Theory, Vince McMahon says, hey, I got some big dollars for you, Goldberg. We want to get this Austin Theory kid over. I'm going to have you do the job to him for WrestleMania. What does that do for an Austin Theory if he defeats Goldberg at WrestleMania?
I don't really think it does anything, bro, because the proper way to get Austin Theory over would have been for him to be on a roll, and then Goldberg is the first big challenge. Yep. So then if he goes over, Goldberg gets the holy moment. That is now the guy is made. But the way they've built him thus far, they've not, Chris, I call it all the time. You got to set the table for the talent.
Yep, absolutely.
They have not set the table properly. Yeah. So a win over Goldberg would really, honestly, in my opinion, bro, it really wouldn't mean anything.
I agree, especially from, like you said, the way that they've been booking Theory. His stock isn't high enough to get the payout. If that makes sense. Like it's not high. So if you get the payout now, you're missing so much more money by building more stock for him. I think you're trying to get that WrestleMania payout with the stock not being very high. You should have built the stock higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And if you want to get that payout from WrestleMania, it would have made a bigger impression about Theory. It's like, okay, wait. He's on a roll now. His momentum's going up. His stock is rising. Goldberg's a big test. And the problem with WWE I've seen so much is that nobody's over. So when they try to beat a legend to get over, they really don't get over. You know what I mean? Because they're always susceptible that within weeks, they're going to drop again.
Chris, here was the perfect scenario. And Chris, please refresh my memory because I'm old. I was at both WrestleMania 4 and 5 because they were in Jersey and I was living on Long Island. Mm-hmm. What WrestleMania was the tournament?
4.
And Savage went over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was perfect booking. Look at when Savage first came in and you knew like he had that look, and then they put him with the beautiful manager, and look at the way they build Savage. Now the table is set for that tournament.
Yep.
That's how you do it, bro. We've passed doing it the right way with Austin Theory. So they're going to hope, Chris, that, really their philosophy is still, oh, bro, the big win over Goldberg's going to No, bro, you can believe that with all your heart and soul. But you know what, Chris? Even they know that that's not true. Even they know that it's not going to happen that way.
Yeah, because I tell you, it will totally just annihilate a Goldberg victory. If the Raw after WrestleMania, we get a segment with Austin Theory and Vince McMahon. If we got that segment at the Raw after Mania, it would absolutely obliterate Austin Theory because it would take him back to the level of weak pupil. Like that, it would have him go back to that level. It doesn't make him look larger as a figure, as a character, especially if you're doing the, toward Vince McMahon saying, "Oh, I'm glad you." Like if we do that whole mumble and shock, mumbles McMahon and shock pupil, weak pupil segment again after beating Goldberg, and he does something like, "Okay, Vince, I beat Goldberg. How do you feel about that?" Like I can see the WWE doing that, and as soon as they do,
absolutely,
it plummets his stock.
Absolutely, bro. I swear to God, the only way to ever get Austin Theory over to the point that they want to get him over, bro, is it would take something like this, like. He would have been the first one to slap the old man around for you're going to disrespect me. No, bro, your time is come and gone, but smack the old man around. Then you do the Shane angle.
Yep.
Then he beats Shane.
Yep.
Then he starts goading Triple H. How long are you going to stay in that hospital bed, bro? How long are you going to have the cardiac event?
Yeah.
Bro, that is the only bro. Look at what we're just talking about. Literally laying out Vince McMahon, Shane coming up, going over Shane, goading Triple H. You see Triple H back for the first time. Whether he can work or whatever. But even if he can't work, you slide Shawn Michaels in there. There's a million ways to do it. Not a win over Goldberg, bro.
Agreed.
No.
Agreed. I think there's so much meat on the bone when it comes to putting Austin Theory over that it's just well beyond just beating a legend. Because once again, nowadays, just beating legends look at Drew McIntyre. He beat Goldberg. What? A year ago, you know what I mean? So it's like,
I didn't even remember that. I didn't even remember it, Chris, till you just brought up. I didn't remember
Royal Rumble of 2021. He beat Goldberg. That was when they were in the Thunderdome still, and so it was just. 2 months later, now what? He just it just really didn't work out from a consistent basis for Drew McIntyre. Unfortunately. If you really want to use like I say, if you want to bring in the legends, like use those dollars to build equity, and you can't do that if you keep going back to
Chris. I think that they're not learning. They're not learning by their mistakes because let me tell you something, bro. I always hate to go back to the Attitude Era, but when we brought people back. They didn't leave. They hadn't left 5 years ago or 10 years ago. They recently left. So the audience watching the current product remembered so-and-so from a year ago. What they're doing, bro, is they're bringing people back after a long period of time. And, bro, let me tell you something. Last night, when CM Punk and MJF are not drawing 1 million viewers, that's what they're telling you, bro. Bro, in the 7 years that CM Punk was gone, 7 years, bro, the audience that was into CM Punk are gone too. So now what, bro? Now 7 years later, you expect to bring this guy back, and all of a sudden no, bro. That's too much time elapsed, bro. And that's the problem, Chris. They're not rather than learn from these things. It's the excuse. It's the reason. No, bro. You've got there's a reason, and you've got to be examining the reason. And like I said, Jeff, man, the WWE, bro. Again, going back to the well, trying to keep their head above water to WrestleMania. Okay, then what, bro? Bro, and you know what, Chris? Maybe they know something we don't know. Maybe they got something, bro, that's gonna blow us away. But
that's the reason why I'd imagine probably 80% of people still watch wrestling, because they still have that glimmer of hope. Maybe it's something. Maybe, real quick before we close up, when you were giving that analogy about the 7 years, it makes me think of like someone watching a episodic television show with their favorite character in it, right? Mm-hmm. Say, for instance, we talk about Yellowstone. I haven't got into it yet, but I've heard Kevin Costner's doing his thing, right?
Tremendous.
So, say, for instance, I'm watching Yellowstone because I'm a huge Kevin Costner mark, all right? Mm-hmm. Kevin Costner gets written off the script. So, two things. Either one, I stop watching Yellowstone, or two, Yellowstone is so riveting that I stay watching Yellowstone because I'm more bought into the show now when I first was brought into the person, the character. Yes. The show has continued my interest.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So with CM Punk, it's like the Kevin Costner left 7 years ago, and then you find out that Kevin Costner's back on Yellowstone, but Yellowstone is so off.
Perfect.
It's such a horrible show. Perfect. You're like, okay, let me check Yellowstone once again, and you're like, I think I'm good. I think
at what, Chris? I swear to God, I hate to admit this, but you know me, bro. I'm transparent, bro. I used to be a teen mom junkie. Okay, the most controversial teen mom left. Mm-hmm. I left.
Yeah.
And every now and then, bro, I'll flip through the channels and there's teen mom, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you just said, bro. Exactly what you just. Yeah. But see, Chris, that's the beauty of it. Like, you and I can sit here and talk about it, but I don't understand why people in the business are in such denial over things they really need to figure out, bro.
Yeah. Agreed. And then we look at Yellowstone. It's like, oh, look, the ratings are this. Well, 7 years ago, it was a lot higher than it was now.
Yeah.
And we celebrate a net loss. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense in the business world.
Yeah.
And so, we shall see where that leads, but we shall see where Goldberg takes us as well, leading into WrestleMania. But I'll tell you one thing that's pretty locked in solid is the C and V connection, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. I'm Dr. Chris. That's Vince Russo. This is Writing with Russo. So long.